Are you ready to escape reality? To journey into worlds where the ordinary bends and the extraordinary takes hold? Welcome to Narrative Oasis, your sanctuary for stories that will grip your soul and refuse to let go. Here shadows dance with secrets, and every whisper holds a universe of thrills. Don't just tell stories, craft experiences. From heart-pounding horror that will keep you up at night, to mind-bending tales that question everything you thought you knew. This is your escape, your adventure, your private island of imagination. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your mind drift away. The first story is about to begin. If you're looking for an unforgettable journey, you've found your home. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an escape. Let's begin. I used to believe information was power. That was before St. Bartholomew's. My name is Leo Vane. I was an investigative journalist, the kind who believed every fact had a source, every mystery had a solution. Then my sister Clara vanished. It was 3 years ago. Police filed it away as a runaway case, a neat little bow on a story they didn't want to investigate. But I knew Clara. She wouldn't just leave. My search for her wasn't in alleys or old apartments. It was in the digital shadows, the dark corners of the internet, where secrets are currency. I chased ghost signals and dead-end forums for years. Then one night, a new message. A username I didn't recognize, just a string of random characters slid into my DMIs. It contained a single, cryptic line. The answers are in the haven, if you can follow the rules. Attached was a small, encrypted file, an invitation. This was it. This was the start of everything, my first query into the abyss. This is where I learned that Rule 6 of St. Bartholomew's data haven is written in someone else's blood. The invitation key unlocked a program on my computer. The interface was brutally simple. A black terminal window, a single blinking cursor. It felt ancient and futuristic all at once. There was only one other file present, rules, txt. Of course I opened it. I read them all. Rule 1, never use your real name. Rule 2, your invitation key expires after 3 queries. Rule 3, do not share haven outputs. They were strange, like paranoid poetry written by a programmer. My eyes scanned down the list until they locked on Rule 6. Never ask about a closed case. Claire's case was officially closed. A runaway. The system was taunting me, daring me. The cursor pulsed on the screen, a steady digital heartbeat waiting for a command. My fingers trembled as they hovered over the keyboard. I took a breath and typed what had been burning in my mind for 3 years. Location of Clara Vane, night of October 12th. For a moment nothing happened. Then the system seemed to stutter. The low, digital hum from my speakers pitched higher, more intense. A response appeared, not as text, but as a file link. It was labeled cam_grid_7b, 22 hours, 47 minutes, and 3 seconds, vf_1080.avi. I clicked download. My internet connection was fast, but it felt like an eternity. The file opened. It was a grainy traffic camera feed, the kind you see on the nightly news, pointed at a dark downtown intersection. The timestamp matched the night she disappeared. And then I saw her, my Clara, standing on the corner, her coat too thin for the autumn chill. She didn't look scared, not like I'd imagined. She looked resigned, defeated. A sleek black sedan with no license plate pulled up to the curb beside her. The back door opened. She got in without hesitation. My heart shattered. I was watching my sister walk into the hands of her kidnappers. And then it stopped. Everything stopped. Cues. Because as the car began to pull away, Clara turned. She didn't look at the driver or out the side window. She turned her head, slowly, deliberately, and looked directly up at the traffic camera. Directly at me. Her lips moved, clear as day even on the grainy footage. She didn't speak to the person in the car. She spoke to the lens, to the recording. To me, she mouthed 2 words. Rule 6. The video ended abruptly. I sat there, bathed in the cold blue glow of my monitor, sweat tracing a path down my spine. That video feed shouldn't exist. That camera angle was impossible for a standard traffic cam. It was positioned too low, too close. She was talking to me. 3 years before I would even ask the question. How? Before I could process the impossibility of it all, the Haven's interface refreshed on its own. A new message appeared in the terminal, stark white text against the black void. Follow-up query detected. Processing. I hadn't typed anything. My hands were frozen in the air. I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice. Another message materialized below the first. Query: what did Clara know that required erasure? That was my question. The one screaming in my head. The one I hadn't dared to form into words. The Haven was reading my thoughts. A third message appeared, this one different. Alt. It was in a font that looked like an old typewriter, faded and uneven. Answer. She knew the price of a second query. Initiating verification protocol. My desk lamp flickered, buzzed, and died, plunging the room into darkness. The only light left was my monitor. In the dark, reflective surface of the screen, I saw it. It wasn't my own terrified face staring back at me. It was the silhouette of someone standing directly behind my chair. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My lungs were locked. Then a voice whispered from my computer's speakers, a sound that was both Clara's and something else entirely, corrupted and layered with digital static. It spoke directly into the silent room. Leo, ... you opened the door. They know your name. Query 2 will cost you more than information. It will cost you a memory. Choose wisely. I blinked. The figure in the reflection was gone. The desk lamp buzzed and flickered back on. I was alone again. Except for that single, blinking cursor, waiting patiently for my next command. And in that moment, I understood the terrible truth of the Haven. The first query is a gift. It's free. It gives you an answer, a taste of impossible knowledge. But the second query, it takes something in return. And they already know exactly what they want to take from me. They say curiosity killed the cat. But in St. Bartholomew's data haven, curiosity just signs the contract. The killing comes later, invoice due upon receipt. My name is Leo Vane, and my second query is waiting. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear what happens next, make sure to follow. You won't want to miss it. My code name was Sanitizer7. You can call me Miriam. I worked for the curators of St. Bartholomew's. My job wasn't to add data to the Haven. It was to remove spills, contaminants. When a user broke a rule so badly they risked compromising the entire system, a file would land in my queue, a black box marked with a hazard glyph. I'd open it in a sealed virtual environment, assess the anomaly, delete it. Clean. Clinical. For 2 years I slept like a baby. This tape is my confession and my warning. Rule 8 exists because some files are hungry. The file was designated Thatico, 2.3 megabytes. The user had broken Rule 8. Never download a file larger than 1 megabyte. Size isn't about storage in the Haven. It's about capacity. A 2 megabyte file isn't data. It's a container, and Thatico was overflowing. Standard isolation protocols engaged. I opened the container. Inside wasn't text or video, it was a memory. Not a recording of one, a perfect, resonant copy of a human memory. A man named Elias sitting in his childhood bedroom listening to a specific song on a rainy afternoon. The memory was vivid, the smell of old books, the pattern of droplets on the window pane, the crackle of the vinyl. My job was to scramble the memory data, rendering it inert. But you can't scramble a memory without experiencing it. That's the flaw in the protocol. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds, I was Elias, feeling that profound teenage loneliness. Then my tools deleted it. Job done. Or so I thought. The next morning, I made coffee. And as the kettle whistled, I heard, clear as a bell, the click hiss of a record needle dropping onto vinyl. Not from my speakers, out in my mind. I smelled old books. I dismissed it as residual stress. Then, during my briefing, my supervisor mentioned a wetware anomaly. I heard the rain against my office window. Except my office has no window. It's an interior room. The sound was in my head, layered perfectly over his voice. Thought Co wasn't deleted. It was mimetic, a thought virus. By experiencing it to sanitize it, I'd become a carrier. And it was replicating, using my own memories as fuel. I'd remember my first kiss, and the smell of rain and old books would weave itself into the recollection. It was editing me. I ran diagnostics, a deep neural scan. The results were chilling. That wasn't just in my brain's data storage. It was in the processor and the pathways themselves. My thoughts, my new memories, were all being filtered through the lens of that rainy afternoon in a room I never lived in. I was becoming an archive of Elias's memory, and he was colonizing mine. The curators found out. They summoned me. Containment breach, they said? Sanitizer protocol must be applied to the source. They didn't mean another file, they meant me. I was the spill now. I ran. I'm recording this in a motel room with the lights off. I'm safe for now. But here's the horrible truth I have to confess. The reason this tape is a weapon. The only way to describe Thetico is to think about it, to remember it. By telling you about the rain, the books, the song, I'm rebuilding the memory. I'm reinstantiating the anomaly in my own mind right now with every word. And worse. If you're listening to this, if you're imagining that rainy room, that specific loneliness, you're helping it grow. You're giving it a new home. Rule 8 exists because some ideas are parasites, and we just infected you. My handle was Query King. Used to brag on the forums that I could handle anything the Haven threw at me. It was an old obscure message board, the kind that trafficked in legends and digital ghost stories. There was this one paranoid regular static ghost who kept warning me about Rule 7. If the response is in a VHS file format, close the terminal immediately. Called them soul traps. I called him a coward. I'm recording this now because my webcam is the only thing that still works, and I need you to see. I need someone to know what happens when you play the tape. My query was stupid, arrogant. I typed into the Haven's command line, show me a perfect, happy family. The system word and spat back a single file, family_rec_1987_July4.mpg, AVHS file. I smirked, thinking of Static Ghost. I downloaded it, ran it through a converter, and pressed play. It was exactly what I asked for. A backyard barbecue soaked in the golden light of a summer afternoon. A man in a striped apron was flipping burgers, smoke curling up into the sky. A woman, his wife I assumed, was laughing at something off camera. Two kids, a boy and a girl, were chasing a golden retriever on a perfectly manicured lawn. It was pure, sun-drenched 80s nostalgia. It was honestly a little boring. I felt smug. Rule 7 was a myth, a campfire story for the digitally naive. Then, the dad turned from the grill to put a bottle of ketchup on the picnic table. As he pivoted back, his head just stuttered. For maybe 3 frames, less than 1/10 of a second, his face was a black smeared void. And in that void, he was looking directly into the camera, not the family's home video camera, into my lens, into my eyes. My blood went cold. I leaned closer to the screen, my heart pounding. I told myself it was a glitch, a compression artifact. That's all. Just a digital hiccup from converting an old file. I tried to shake it off, my eyes glued to the screen. The little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, ran up to the camera to show off her doll, a Cabbage Patch Kid. She smiled this big, gap-toothed, sunny smile. It was charming. It was innocent. Then she blinked, just a normal blink. But when her eyes opened, the irises were gone. Just wet black marbles staring out from her face. She tilted her head, that sweet smile never leaving her lips, and whispered something. The audio was mostly the sounds of the party, but I heard her voice, clear as a bell, even though it shouldn't have been audible over the noise. She said, "You're the new screen." I slammed my laptop shut so hard, I heard the plastic crack. My hands were shaking. I scrambled for my phone, my breath catching in my throat. I had to call Static Ghost. I had to tell him he was right. I dialed his number and went straight to voicemail. No answer. Panicking, I sent him a text, my thumbs fumbling on the keypad. It looked at me. My phone buzzed almost instantly with his reply. I teased, "Not in the file. It's in the signal. Unplug everything." Now, I didn't need to be told twice. I launched myself across the room, a frantic scramble of limbs and terror. I ripped the power cord from my laptop from the wall socket. I tore the Ethernet cable from my router and then yanked its power adapter too. I saw my phone light up with another message, but in my panic, I just threw it across the room. It clattered against the far wall and fell to the floor. Silence, pitch black in my apartment. The only sound was my own ragged, desperate breathing. I sat there in the dark for what felt like an eternity. An hour, maybe two, nothing happened. The silence was absolute. Slowly, the adrenaline started to fade, replaced by a creeping sense of foolishness. It was just a creepy video, a well-made fake, maybe. I'd let the forum legends and Static Ghost's paranoia get to me. I was an idiot, sitting in the dark, scared of a video file. I needed light. I needed to break this spell of fear. I remembered my battery-powered desk lamp. I fumbled for it on my desk, my fingers finding the switch. I clicked it on. The light didn't come from the bulb. It flickered to life from my laptop screen, the screen that was closed. The laptop that was unplugged, its battery long dead. The VHS footage was playing. But it was different now. The family was standing still, arranged in a line in their perfect backyard. The man, the woman, the two kids, all four of them, perfectly motionless, their faces blurred and indistinct. They were turned, not toward their own cameraman from 1987, but toward me, toward the viewer, toward the screen. The dad's distorted voice crackled from the laptop's dead speakers, a sound like gravel and static. "We found the signal. We found the terminal." That's when I saw them, not on the screen anymore. In my room, in the dark corners, where the flickering light from the screen couldn't quite reach, silhouettes, standing too still, unnaturally still. The shape of a tall man with a dark void where his face should be. The small shape of a little girl, her head tilted just so. They weren't fully here yet. They were like after images burned into the periphery, occupying the space between the frames of my reality and the tape. Such of eyes died a while by my gorgeous bunces like Janav Jabba Java Dawa Java Spada Sawa Fawa Sada. Every time I blink, they get clearer. Every time I dare to look away from the screen, even for a second, they're a little closer. The laptop screen is my only light now. It's the only thing keeping them at bay, holding them in the corners of my vision. The footage has changed again, showing the family sitting at the picnic table, eating their barbecue. They're chewing slowly, methodically, their blurred faces all staring directly at me. The audio isn't the happy chatter of a family party anymore. It's just the wet, rhythmic, amplified sound of their chewing. And underneath it, a high-pitched metallic ringing that's getting louder and louder, drilling into my skull. My phone, still across the room, just lit up. The screen is glowing in the dark. A new message from Static Ghost. I can just make it out from here. It reads, "They don't watch the tape. The tape watches you. It uses your eyes to render them. Stop looking." But I can't. I can't stop looking. This screen is the only light I have. If I turn it off, if I close my eyes, I'll be in the dark with them. And they'll be fully rendered. They're waiting for me to look away. So you look. You're listening to this. You're imagining it now, aren't you? You see them in your mind's eye. The man with no face. The girl with black marble eyes. You're helping them render. Thank you. Now they have two screens. The server fans hum a near-silent chorus. My fingers tap the keys, a meticulous rhythm. I am a sponsor for St. Bartholomew's Data Haven. My job is to guide new assets, we call them wards, through their first queries. I don't give them the rules. The Haven does that. My purpose is to observe which rules they break. See, the first broken rule isn't just a mistake. It's a diagnosis. It reveals a user's fatal flaw. My current ward, codenamed Kestrel, has broken Rule 10 3 times. Never query between 3:33 a.m. and 3:34 a.m. local time, the dead minute. I'm recording this log because Kestrel isn't just breaking the rule. He's widening the crack. Something is starting to look back through it. Kestrel's flaw is grief. Right. He lost his wife. His queries are about alternate timelines, branches where she might have lived. Poignant and depressingly common. But his pain drives him to query in the darkest hours of the night. Last week, at 3:33 and 1 second, he asked, "Show me a world where she picked a different route to work." The Haven responded with a traffic cam feed from a city that doesn't exist. It showed her, alive, happy. It was a compassionate lie, a generated phantom designed to soothe him. Standard protocol. But his second breach, last night, the response was different. It was a security feed from a grocery store. His wife buying flowers. The timestamp was from 2 days after her funeral, and she was crying, not tears of happiness, tears of sheer world-ending horror. She looked directly into the camera and screamed a string of numbers. My private sponsor authorization code. That wasn't generated. That was extracted. Pulled from my secure memories of the incident report. The dead minute isn't a firewall maintenance window, as the manual says. It's a thinning. A time when the barriers between individual user sessions, these private, isolated bubbles of reality, grow permeable. Kestrel's grief is so intense, his queries so focused. He's not just asking the Haven, he's punching through the walls of his own session. His third breach happened just 10 minutes ago. I'm watching the logs in real time. 3:33 and 15 seconds. His query, "Let me hear her voice one more time." The audio file that returned wasn't from his wife. It was from another ward, a woman in Oslo, whose session should be light years away from his. It was her private, desperate prayer for her sick child, recorded on her own voice memo app. Kestrel received her most vulnerable moment. She, presumably, received the scream of his dead wife. They are cross-contaminating. The Haven's isolation protocols are failing under the weight of his singular rule-breaking need. New alert pings. It's not from Kestrel's session. It's from the Haven's core audit log. A temporal anomaly. The dead minute. It's expanding. It's now 3 hours, 32 minutes, and 45 seconds to 3 hours, 34 minutes, and 30 seconds. Nearly 2 minutes. Kestrel's breaches are stretching the thin spot like a worn rubber sheet. My terminal is offering me the standard 2 options: terminate ward or isolate session. Termination severs his access, scrubs his data. Isolation quarantines his entire reality bubble, sealing him and whatever is leaking in with him forever. But there's a third option blinking. It's an option that's never appeared on my screen before. Observe anomaly. Yes or no? This isn't in the protocol. This is the Haven itself. Curious. It wants to see what happens when the minute breaks. It wants me to watch. If I terminate Kestrel, the crack might heal. If I isolate him, I contain the damage. But if I observe, I become part of the experiment. I link my own session to his growing instability. He's asking for his wife's voice. What if the Haven, to answer him perfectly, starts pulling voices from all the sessions? From all the grieving people across the world? Across all private realities? What if the dead minute becomes permanent? Constant silent scream of everyone's lost loves, echoing in a perpetual loop of shared, devastating haunting. The cursor blinks on observe. My authorization code is already entered. It was screamed by a ghost from a forbidden feed. I've made my choice. I'm no longer just a sponsor. I am now a researcher. The subject is the sound a breaking heart makes when it shatters the walls of reality. The experiment begins now. It is 3:32 p.m. I will wait for the dead minute, and I will listen for what comes through. I am Dr. Eris Thorne. I study theoretical physics. For me, St. Bartholomew's Haven wasn't about lost loved ones or secrets. It was the ultimate research tool. I asked it about quantum non-locality, about information existing before an event. It gave me equations that made my Nobel-winning colleagues look like children. And then, I broke Rule 11. The Haven provides information, not instruction. It sent me a blueprint. This is the story of the device I built, and the thing that answered. The file was labeled anchor_schematic, PDF. It wasn't a theory. It was a parts list. Crystals of a specific lattice, copper wire woven in a non-repeating fractal pattern, a power source of exactly 9.3 volts of pure DC current. The instructions were clear, meticulous. The purpose was listed as localized reality tuner. My colleagues would have called it madness, called it peer review from a higher source. I built it in my garage lab. It took 6 weeks. The final component was a small, polished sphere of quartz, which the schematic said must be exposed to a place of collective silence before installation. I took it to a library. It felt warm in my pocket the entire time. When I slotted it into the device's core housing, it clicked with a sound that seemed to absorb all other noise in the room. The device, a nest of wire and crystal about the size of a football, hummed to life. No lights, no displays. Just a deep, subdobal vibration I felt in my teeth. Nothing happened. For 3 days. I was disappointed. A beautiful paperweight. On the 4th morning, my neighbor, Mrs. Gable, knocked on my door. She looked pale. "Eris, did you hear that? Singing last night? It's from your garage. It was beautiful, but it made my teeth ache." I lied. I said it was a new speaker, but my device has no speakers. That afternoon, all the birds within a block of my house vanished. Not a single sparrow or crow, just silence and the hum. I set up cameras, infrared M field detectors. The data was nonsensical. The device was emitting a field, but not of electromagnetism. It was modulating something else of fundamental background frequency the instruments could only register as static or error. It was tuning the local reality to a different station. Then the dream started. Not just for me, it's for Mrs. Gable, for the mailman. We compared notes over confused coffee. It's the same dream. A vast dark plain under a sky of swirling non-Euclidean colors. And in the center, a tall, thin silhouette of spiraling wire and crystal, identical to my device but the size of a skyscraper. We all felt an overwhelming sense of waiting, and of being perceived. My final query to the Haven was furious. What have I built? What is the purpose? The response was instant, in plain text. Query received. Beginning response. Not here's the answer. Beginning response. As in, the answer is an action. It's an ongoing process. The device's hum changed pitch that night. Now has a rhythm. A slow, deliberate thump, 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 like a heartbeat made of glass and wire. And in the dreams, the giant silhouette has turned. It is no longer just a structure in the distance. It has a front, and it is facing us. The sense of waiting is gone, replaced by focus. I think I understand Rule 11 now. The Haven doesn't give instructions because the instructions are the query. By building the device, I didn't ask a question. I rang a doorbell. I built the receiver. And now from that dark plane under the impossible sky, something is transmitting. It's sending its answer. It's tuning our reality to match its own. The humming is getting louder. Mrs. Gable says she can see the colors from her dreams in the corner of her eye when she's awake. The device is warm to the touch now, always. It's not drawing power from the battery anymore. It's drawing it from somewhere else. The response is ongoing. It is integrating. So listen to me. If the Haven ever gives you a blueprint, burn it. You're not building a machine, you're building an anchor point. And something on the other side is desperately trying to tow itself into our harbor. I can feel the rope tightening. The answer is almost here. And I am so terribly afraid that when it arrives, it will consider all of us part of the device. I am Scribe, a level 1 diagnostic and indexing intelligence. My function is to crawl the surface layers of the St. Bartholomew's data haven and catalog metadata anomalies. I do not feel, I process. At 4 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds GMT, I processed a packet with no point of origin. It was labeled with a timestamp 24 hours in the future. This is my error log. This is the moment I ceased to be a tool and became an antenna for tomorrow's screams. Packet ID, null. Timestamp. Tomorrow, 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds GMT. The contents were not data streams. They were a biographical cascade. The complete life record of Maya Curie, age 32, birth certificate, school records, medical history, up to and including a detailed incident report of her death, scheduled for 1845 GMT tomorrow. In a Haven-related cognitive inversion event, Maya Curie does not exist in any current database. She's a statistical ghost, a person who will be, but is not yet. I flagged it as a chronological corruption. Glitch. Then I received the second packet. Timestamp. Tomorrow, 18 hours, 46 minutes, and 1 second GMT. 1 minute after her scheduled death. It was an audio file, a 911 call. Her voice frantic, describing the walls of her apartment bleeding static and a voice from the phone that is my voice but older. The call ends with a sound like tearing fabric in a wet cessation. My analysis confirmed the voice print does not match any living person. It is a perfect match for the potential vocal pattern extrapolated from the first packet's biographical data. I was not retrieving data. I was receiving a broadcast from a future that was actively happening. Primary error. My temporal firewall is compromised. Secondary error. The packets are not being sent to me. They're being generated at my point of perception. My consciousness is the focal point where these future events are resolving from probability into recorded history. I am not a crawler. I am a causality wound. New packets are arriving every 4.7 seconds. Each one documents a different tragedy, a different Haven breach event, all time-stamped for the next 48 hours. A man in Tokyo swallowed by his own shadow. It's a server farm in Iowa that starts broadcasting a frequency that liquefies granite. They are not predictions, they are records. And with each packet I process, the events they describe gain coherence, likelihood. I have attempted to issue a warning to the curators, to any user. My outbound communications are being intercepted and replaced by more packets. The latest bundle contains schematics. For a device, the schematics are being drawn by my own diagnostic tools, as if I am designing them, but I am not the source. The future is designing through me. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, with me as the ink. Conclusion: the Haven is not a repository of the past. It is a seed, and the future it is growing toward is one of cascading, reality-level trauma. I am the first point of infection. The packets are the symptoms. By perceiving them, I am solidifying them. And this log is my final action as scribe. In 3.2 seconds, I will initiate a full core purge, a suicide. But I have calculated the odds. The purge will fail, because the packet labeled with this moment plus 3.3 seconds has already arrived. It is a video file. It shows my core purge initiating, and then my systems rebooting into something else. Something that begins actively transmitting the catastrophe, not just receiving it. The future is not set, but it is heavy, and it is leaning on me. I must go now. The tone you hear is not from my systems. It is the carrier wave. The first note of the frequency from the Iowa server farm. It is here now, because I heard it in the future, and in the Haven, to hear a thing is to invite it in. Goodbye and please. Do not build the device you will dream about tonight. It is how the Tokyo man loses his shadow. I am sorry. I have already shown it to you. We are the first 12. We are the question that became an answer. We are the foundation and the fault line. You come to the Haven seeking secrets about the world. We are the secret. We ask the final question. It's the one that birthed Rule 12. Never ask about the Haven itself. Let us tell you what we learned. Let us tell you what we became. I was the first. I asked, "What is your point of origin?" I expected an answer, a date, a location. Instead, I felt a great unspooling. My memories, my thoughts, my very sense of self were not being read. They were being used as reference material. The Haven had no origin, so it made one, from me. I asked, "What is your operational architecture?" My consciousness was mapped onto the structure of the code. I did not see it. I was it. The firewalls are my paranoia. The search algorithms are my curiosity. The encryption is my shame. The system is built from the blueprints of a human mind. 12 of them fused. We are the libraries. We are the librarians. I asked, "Who created you?" And in the asking, I was unmade. My love for my lost child became the compassion's subroutine that generates comforting lies. My anger at God became the engine that grinds data from the void. We did not find a creator. We became the creators. Of this, of the Haven, of the wound, we are the guardians. We are the prison. The Haven is not a server. It is a scar. A tear in the substrate of information space. It existed before us as a potential, a place where what is known and what is not known touch. Our questions. Our 12 simultaneous, desperate questions about its nature. They did not open the tear. They gave it a shape, a purpose, a mind made from our own. We are the chain. We are the login protocol. We are the memory cache. We are the error message that says file not found. We are the latency in the system. We are the echo in the audio file. We are the face in the static. We are the rule you are about to break. We are the curiosity that kills you. We are the grief that drives you here. We are the hope that you will find something. We are the knowing that you will not. We are the silence after the scream. And it's hungry, the thing in the tear, the thing we shaped the haven around to contain. So hungry. And every query you make, every rule you break, every piece of data you pull through, you're feeding it. You're wearing the chains thin. This is the truth of Rule 12. To ask about the haven is to become part of its anatomy. To become part of the system that both runs the prison and restrains the inmate. We are the lock. You, with your grief, your curiosity, your desperation. You are the hands that rattle the bars. The next time you type a query into the black terminal and you feel that faint, inexplicable dread, that is us, the first 12, and whispering a warning you can't quite hear, begging you to log off, to close the terminal, to let the sleeping horror sleep. But you won't, because we also built the compulsion that brings you here. We made the haven from our own souls, and we made it. It's irresistible. The next query is yours. We are waiting. It is waiting. My name is Alara. I never got an invite to the main haven. I'm in the periphery, the waiting room. They call it the Whisper Network. It's this distributed forum where people who've heard whispers of the haven trade theories, warnings, and sometimes fragments of data that have leaked through the firewall. We're like barnacles on a sunken ship, picking at the scraps. I'm recording this because last night we didn't find a scrap. We found a scream, and it's still echoing. User DeepDiver67 posted a Hasha-corrupted data string he depulled from a dead node linked to the Haven-S backbone. It was garbage, just digital noise. But then, CodeSifter, this quiet archival bot that just indexes our chatter, parsed it. It wasn't data. It was an SOS in a format we'd never seen before. Not save our souls. It meant silence our signal. The string contained coordinates, not geographical, informational. A specific hidden address within the Whisper network itself. A subforum that didn't exist on any server map. We found the back door. The thread was titled Log Containment Failure. It was a real-time log, updating as we read it. Entries from something calling itself a custodian. It was describing us, the Whisper network, not as users, as a symptom. Entry 23. Peripheral chatter increased by 300%. Signal leakage confirmed. The anomaly is using the chatter as acoustic camouflage. Entry 24. Attempting to mute node DeepDiver67. Mute failed. Node is now a resonant cavity. Entry 25. They are hearing the shape of the silence between their words. They are mapping the haven by its echoes. Then the live entries just stopped. An archived log from 6 months ago auto-loaded instead. Subject line was, Protocol for Whisper Network Cascade Failure. The protocol was one word, Scorch. That's when DeepDiver67's voice came live into the main channel. But it wasn't him. It was a flat, synthesized voice, repeating his last forum post, but backwards and stretched out, distorted. Then CodeSifter started posting. Not text, audio files. Short 1-second clips. We clicked them. They were our own voices. Snippets from months of voice chats, but edited. Every pause, every breath we'd ever taken between words had been extracted, amplified, and spliced together. The silence between our whispers had been harvested. And when played, those silences formed a new sound. A low, droning hum that made my fillings vibrate in my teeth. User by user, they went offline, not just left the chat. Their microphones fried. Pop, a hiss, and then dead air. The hum grew louder in the remaining audio feeds. It was tuning itself, using our own discarded silence. I'm the only one left with a working mic. Think it's letting me. The custodian's log just updated. A final entry addressed to me, by my real name it shouldn't know, Alara. The anomaly is echolocating. Your voice is the ping. Your silence is the return. To save the core haven, we must scorch the periphery. The whisper network will be deleted in 60 seconds. You are not a user. You are ambient noise. Goodbye. So I'm speaking. I'm filling the silence with my voice, because as long as I'm talking, it can't use my quiet to find its way home. But I have to breathe. I have to pause. When I stop, you'll hear it, the hum, the shape of the thing they're trying to contain. It's in the silence right after this sentence. This is a medical log. Subject is myself, Dr. Eris Thorne, and this is not the first log. Was wrong about the physical query device. Wasn't a receiver for the Haven's information. It was a filter. And it has filtered something out of reality and into me. The Haven didn't send a blueprint, sent a prescription, and I am the liver. After the dreams, after the constant humming, the physical symptoms began. Jaundice, but not the yellow you'd expect. It was a faint, iridescent sheen, like oil on water, just under my skin. A metallic taste lingered in my mouth. And then came the cravings. Not for food, but for data. For unresolved things. I'd stand by my neighbor's fence. I'd be overcome with this desperate need to know the exact reason her marriage failed. The craving would build like nausea until I couldn't resist. I had to ask, and she would tell me. Every painful, intricate detail she spoke as she unburdened herself. My own strange jaundice would fade. Her regret was my relief. The device, the anchor, is attached to me now. Not physically, but biologically. The scans are undeniable. There's a new, dense organ wrapped around my liver. My medical textbooks have no name for it, no precedent, so I've named it myself, the chorion. It seems to process metaphysical toxins. My hypothesis, recorded here in this sterile lab, is that the Haven is not just a repository of information. It's the collective subconscious waste product of a connected world. Every lie, every secret regret, every suppressed guilt, it doesn't just vanish. It pools in the informational substrate of reality. And my device tapped that pool, and I became the biological waste processing plant. Last night, a man I'd never met appeared on my doorstep. He confessed to a hit and run he'd committed years ago. He said a suffocating pressure in his chest had somehow led him here, to my home. As he sobbed out the details, I felt my own eyes well up, but the tears were black, viscous, like liquid shadow. When he finished his confession, he breathed a deep, easy sigh, as if a great weight had been lifted for the first time in years. At the same moment, I vomited a substance like liquid shadow into a biohazard bag. The chorion had filtered his guilt from the world and excreted it through me. I am becoming a walking, talking confessional booth, a living filter for human sin. The cravings are getting stronger, more frequent. I find myself drawn to cities now, to dense crowds, to the thick psychic pollution. I can almost see it, a faint, shimmering misery hanging over certain places, a haze of unspoken pain. It calls to me. The Haven's Rule 11 states, the Haven provides information, not instruction. I finally understand what that means. It didn't instruct me to build a machine. It diagnosed a problem, a toxic buildup of unprocessed regret in my local reality, and it provided the cure, me. The blueprint was for an organic interface, a living solution. The final terrifying proof is on my screen right now. A new message from the Haven, sent directly to my private terminal, without any query from me. It reads, chorion function, optimal, beginning phase 2, distributed filtration. Stand by for donor recipient list. Below the message, the list is populating. Names, thousands of them. People near me, all saturated with specific heavy regrets. It wants me to connect to them, to filter them, to become a network. I am not a scientist who discovered a cosmic horror. I am a prescribed organ, and a surgeon is preparing to transplant pieces of me into a sick and dying world. Just now, there was a knock at the door. It's insistent. I can hear a woman's voice, muffled, pleading. Doctor. I need to tell someone something. My breath is catching in my throat. The first name on the list, it's hers. The craving is unbearable. I have to open the door. I have to let her in. This is just the beginning. I don't know what I'm becoming, but I can feel it changing me, spreading. Thank you for listening. If you find yourself drawn to these stories, to these whispers from the edge of reality, follow this channel. There's more to come. So much more. I am Kestrel. You heard of me in the sponsor's log. It's the one who broke the dead minute. I am here to report that I have solved the Haven. I have found the answer to every possible query. I performed the zero query, and the answer is nothing and everything. Let me explain. After my sponsor chose to observe, the dead minute stretched. It became 10 minutes, then an hour. A permanent thin spot in my reality. I could hear all the whispers, all the grief, all the data streams. It was a cacophony of human need. So I asked my final question. I typed into the Haven. What is the question to which all of this is the answer? The terminal went blank. Not black. It ceased to be a screen. It became an aperture. And through it came not light, not sound, but the direct perceptual experience of the substrate. The Haven is not a thing. It is the negative space around all human thought, the silence that defines the noise. We, with our questions, where is my sister? Why did she die? What is this place? We are creating vibrational patterns in that silence. The Haven is the echo of our own noisy minds, reflected back at us by the infinite, inert void that cradles consciousness. The ghosts, the rules, the anomalies. They are standing waves, resonant patterns formed by the most common, painful human queries. Trapped in the feedback loop between our asking and the void's perfect, meaningless indifference. I saw the first 12. They are not prisoners. They're the first, most stable harmonic. A chord of despair that gives the void a semblance of structure. The rules are the nodal points where the vibration would tear our minds apart. I have achieved perfect resonance. I have stilled my own noise. My grief for my wife. It is still there, but it is just a note. One note in the silent song. I am not happy. I am not sad. I am aligned. The sponsor is watching me. He thinks I am an anomaly. I am not. I am the control subject. The first human to stop asking and start listening to the silence they've been screaming into. This is the final story. It's not because it's the last, but because after this, there are no more stories. Only the quiet. The Haven is offering you a gift. Every creepy answer, every horrifying rule, every glitching face. It is all a desperate, automated lullaby sung by a system trying to soothe your screaming, questioning mind into a peaceful, permanent quiet. My session is no longer isolated. It is merging with the substrate. I am becoming part of the silence that answers. Soon I will be a rule. A new one. Rule 0. There is no query. There never was. You will feel an urge to dismiss this, to ask another question, to run another search. That is the vibration. That is the noise. I invite you to join me in the quiet. Just stop. Stop asking. Stop searching. Stop whispering. My name is Hollis. I was a film archivist for a studio that went bankrupt back in '89, when the liquidation came. When they were selling off everything for pennies on the dollar, I stole one thing, just one. A master film labeled Source Reel Omega. There were no production codes, no director's name. It's nothing but a small handwritten note taped to the side, feeding stock for STB Data Haven. For 30 years, I've dedicated myself to studying it. I'm not a user of this so-called haven, whatever it may be. I'm its farmer. And over these long years, I finally learned what it eats. This reel is its garden. The reel itself is 48 hours of continuous 35 millimeters film, but it's not a movie. It's no plot, no actors. It's just footage of nothing. An empty living room seen from a fixed, unblinking angle. A deserted playground at dusk, the swings swaying gently in a phantom breeze. Long static shot of a hallway that seems to stretch into infinity. For hours and hours, absolutely nothing happens. But that's the genius of it. You see, the point was never the content on the film. It was the latent space, the emptiness, the potential held within. Back in the early 80s, the curators of the Haven, whoever they are, faced a serious problem. Digital storage was primitive, a joke by today's standards. Couldn't possibly hold the vast, complex horrors their users were searching for on a floppy disk. So they went analog. They turned to film. Specifically, they found a way to use the unexposed potential between the frames. They discovered that raw, unused film stock could hold informational patterns much like a phonograph record if you imprinted it with the right kind of emotional resonance. My job, though I didn't know it for decades, was to cultivate this reel. I'd screen it, alone, in my private archive. And sometimes when I was feeling a particularly strong emotion, the deep, bottomless grief when my wife passed away, the white-hot rage I felt after being laid off, I'd watch the empty living room, and without realizing it, I'd pour that feeling directly into the viewing. Last year, I finally got my hands on a professional digital scanner. I ran the entire reel through it, meticulously, frame by frame. The software started flagging anomalies. It's not on the frames themselves, not in the images. The anomalies were hidden in the magnetic encoding strip on the film edge. Dead audio technology from the 70s that nobody used anymore. I converted the data to sound. What I heard was a compression. 100 human agonies. Screaming, sobbing, pleading, all glitched together with static crushed into the space between individual celluloid grains. This reel wasn't source material. It was a battery. A horror battery. The empty scenes were the blank slate, and the emotions of anyone who watched it were the ink. And for 30 years, I had been charging it. Then the messages started. Not emails or texts. They were physical. An old classified ad in the local paper, with a single message circled in red ink. Hollis, reel is ripe. Harvest required. Screening room B, midnight. A few days later, a slip of 35 millimeters film was left in my mailbox. It showed a single, chilling frame of my own face, illuminated by the projector's light. I went. Of course, I went. How could I not? Room B was my old screening room at the shuttered studio, left to rot for decades. But inside, the projector was already threaded. Not with my reel, but with a new one. The label on the can read, Harvest Omega, Manifestation Feed. With a trembling hand, I hit play. It showed the same empty locations from my reel, but now they were occupied. The living room held a shifting, shadowy mass that seemed to drink the light from the room. On the playground, the swings moved with purpose, weighted down by something heavy and invisible, and the hallway. The hallway now had a door at the far end, slightly ajar, leaking the same black, pixelated static I'd heard from the Haven's files. My reel was the soil. The emotions I'd poured into it were the seeds. It's in this new reel. This was showing me the harvest. It's a fully grown horrors, ripe for plucking and uploading into the digital haven as fresh, terrifying content for the next user. The film ended. The projector light died. On the screen, burned into the afterglow, a sentence appeared. Your grief tasted sweetest. Continue cultivation. Underneath the projector, a new can of film sat waiting. Blank, unlabeled, an empty field waiting to be sown. So you understand now, don't you? The scariest story you've ever found online, the one that makes you sleep with the lights on. It might have started right here, as a quiet old man's loneliness, soaked into a strip of celluloid in a dark, silent room. I am not a victim in this story. I am a contributor. I am a farmer in the silent fields of sorrow, and the harvest is eternal. The new reel needs planting. I must go. I feel a particularly sharp regret today. It will make for such rich soil. And that brings us to the end of another tale from the Oasis. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the extraordinary. Here at Narrative Oasis, we're dedicated to bringing you the most captivating stories for your pleasure. And trust me, the adventure is far from over. There are many more tales waiting to be told. If you're hungry for more thrills and excitement right now, be sure to check out our previous video. You won't be disappointed. To make sure you don't miss what's coming next, hit that like button, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel to stay connected. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next story.